We are involved on a high-level Supreme Court battle. But, Will, this is important. I want to make sure people hear this and know that we are taking action, and we are taking action today.
So when you talk about this brief that we're filing, this case, it's at the Supreme Court now, and there's an oral argument in just a few weeks before the Supreme Court on this. Now, there was an injunction issued against an executive order, and this case has nothing to do with the executive order itself. It's not even at that point. What it has to do with is whether or not the district judge can issue a nationwide injunction, even though this covers districts way outside of his jurisdiction. And we at the ACLJ, along with the West Virginia Attorney General's office and the state of West Virginia, believe that that needs to be put on hold, that we should not be seeing these district court judges being able to make policy by blocking the actions of the president nationally. They could put it on hold in their district. They could have injunctions, but there's also the problem that they're making these decisions to put these nationwide injunctions in effect before even the briefing is completed on this. There's, when you have a case before the court, there's the initial lawsuit, there's the respondent's brief, and then many times the original plaintiff can respond again, and then you get amicus briefs in many cases. And that builds the record for the court to make their decision upon. And then you have the oral argument as well. And now the judge then takes all that into account in how to rule on the underlying issue. They're putting the cart before the horse in this by saying, we're going to go ahead and put a hold on it before we even get to the issue at hand. And that's what we're seeing across the country. The statistics that Jordan shared are shocking, that 67% of these nationwide injunctions have gone against one president, President Trump, in his 4 years and 100 days of being the president. And that goes back 100 years. Yep. And 90% of those injunctions, 92%, were by judges appointed by Democrats. And they say there's not a problem with judicial activism. That's what we see right there. And it's time to fight back. And that's what we're doing here.
Let's go. Actually, we have a question related to that from West Virginia. Christine's calling. Christine, go ahead.
Are there any other states besides West Virginia who are bold enough to take the same stance against these district judges? Any other states going to join us?
There are other states that have joined. Now, there are separate briefings. So you've got probably over 20. So it's a pretty much look at your map of divided government, and you get the red states in, right? And so that is very key. But the second part of this is, remember, the Trump administration has to defend this. Usually we're on the side of an overpowered bureaucracy. This is the executive trying to tell the bureaucracy, this is how we're going to enforce the laws. And then you've got a judge, so another part of our separation of powers, saying you can't tell the bureaucracy how to enforce the law.
Let's go ahead and take one more call for the day. Charles is calling in Georgia, listening on the radio. Charles, go ahead.
My question is, what would happen if President Trump just decided that he was not going to respond to any district court judge injunction, and even if they issued a contempt order, what practical effect would it have on the presidency? I mean, the separation of powers has no meaning if some low court judge can overrule the president in any way.
I think where we have to be careful in the United States of America is what makes us different from the rest of the world is our rule of law. So we have a respect for these institutions. That's why we have to correct them. So the idea is you don't want to get into a situation where the president of the United States is saying, I'm not going to reply. And here they have. So the Trump administration knows. And here's where the problem lies. The president can issue these orders to act. But if the bureaucracy then goes and says, well, a judge told us we can't. You see, you get into one of those issues where there's ultimately, this is what makes America great. What makes America great is ultimately we have a rule of law that you can trust. If we lose that, we are no different than China. We're no different than Russia. And it may sound like, hey, for the 2 years, you want your guy to have that kind of power. But when the other guys come in, do you really want them to have the kind of power where an ACLJ goes into court to stop one of their actions, let's say at the Supreme Court level, and they say, no, I don't care. Then what is the United States of America anymore, and what makes us unique? That is what we are fighting to save here.
Yep.
And ultimately, That is bigger than one president.
Rick, one of the other issues that we've seen is really almost a continuation of the lawfare that President Trump received before he was president for this second term while he was running for president. But you're seeing the issue of the nationwide injunctions issued by district courts trying to block basically everything the president does. And it's remarkable the ability on the border, how well they've been able to shut it down and to get that under control in spite of all these nationwide injunctions and things of that nature. But we at the ACLJ, we just filed a brief yesterday with the Supreme Court representing the state of West Virginia to try to tackle this issue of nationwide injunctions by district courts. And I just want to get your opinion. Is this what, as you travel, is this one of the issues that you're hearing people concerned about the most, of how the left is using the courts and activist judges to try and affect and manipulate policy while the president is just trying to move forward with the mandate from the people?
Look, this is a difficult question because we all recognize that lawfare is a huge problem. We have the courts that have become politicized. We see it constantly. We see what they did to President Trump. And yet, we have a process where our judges are appointed by politicians. And we have U.S. attorneys who are prosecuting cases who are appointed by politicians. That's the system we have. What we need to be able to do is hire the people that are just rejecting politics. And I have to say, I think the conservatives and Republicans are doing a much better job of hiring people who are focused on crime and not politics than the Democrats. The Democrats seem to get very aggressive about having their judges manipulate policy through these injunctions. And more times than not, they get overturned. So it's an activist judge who then just delays the policy because it's so egregious in what they're saying and how they're trying to stop the policy that they get overturned. And so I think that we should have this system where we're very transparent about the judges who are getting overturned. We show their record. We mock them because they're being an activist and they're missing the law, and that their colleagues through the appellate process are mocking them to say, you got it wrong. And trying to use the power of the bully pulpit and transparency, information, public education, all of that, the power of that, to showcase the judges who are activists, who are bringing politics into this. Because I think if you could see how many times a judge is overturned, the public then loses their confidence in these judges, and then we see who's playing politics.
We at the ACLJ wait for the right time when we know we can make the impact. We don't just rush into it where you could immediately get slapped down by a judge or have some issue. No, we knew that the right time is partnering with someone like the Attorney General of West Virginia to put our brief in when there is an issue that's pertinent at the Supreme Court and laying out the law that way. So it's strategic. It's a lot of hard work by the legal team, but this is the right time to get involved. And it's sometimes you do have to have that patience to know when to strategically strike.
Yeah, and we're still talking about the first 100 days of this administration. I know it can seem longer than that because we've been in a nonstop campaign to get to this point. But if you stop fighting now, so if we start sitting on our hands now, what was the point of those last 4 years? What was the point of the first 4 years of the first Trump administration? What was the point of fighting back against impeachment? What is the point of getting these officials elected if you have a president who then can't act? And I want to tell you how general these laws are. For instance, on immigration, you'll have thousands of pages of U.S. code. And then at the end it says, and the president can execute this. So these judges will pick from one page. The White House will pick from other pages. It is ultimately these big decisions, they can be decided by the Supreme Court. In the meantime, you should not have to wait on your hands as President of the United States, elected by the people, a Congress that has enacted these laws. So you've got the separation of powers there. He should not have to wait to be able to then execute those laws, or else all of those battles, all of those fights are for naught. There's no reason to engage.
We got to remember this is a second term presidency. It doesn't sometimes feel like that. You got to remember what's happening here. 4 years, we know, goes by lightning fast.
Listen,
and things have to get done. And if they don't get done now, they probably won't get done at all. We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Seculo program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.